The maker of my latest music video is somewhere in the audience right now. Shout out to Nathan, the animator.
That fan animation was really just for my buddies who I know who are fans. I'm amazed by the support on my latest video.
Niche hobby's?
Ik ga nieuwe hobby's, hele niche hobby's zoals klei-animatie.
Ja.
I love claymation.
Joost basically hit me up the next day. Do you want to make a full video?
And I'm very proud to have this on our YouTube channel.
It was a gnarly process, bruh.
Sorry about the wait. I have been in a non-stop sprint since basically January to get everything done, and I just needed a little break first. But I got some cool stuff for you, some behind the scenes, and I got a boom whiteboard. And what happened was after we got the proposal, we drafted a schedule that started January 19th to April 10th, our deadline. And we were making an entire music video, which is about a 6-month process, compressed into roughly 3 months. Take a look at this cute photo from day one of script planning. This was only able to happen in 3 months because we had complete control of the project. The only parameters were to make sure we have that dance and just make it Joost core, you know? The original start to the story was actually completely different than what we ended up doing. Our first pass of the storyboard before any revisions looked something more like this.
But then I woke up. My fucking work. I don't want to go to fucking work. I hate my job. I hate my boss. What the fuck, man?
You can probably tell the changes that we started to make during that early development.
He had first gone into the office and he had just clicked on the pop-up, and then right when we get to the scene with him on the wheel, frames were just suddenly disappearing and all of a sudden they all disappeared. But with those having disappeared, thankfully I still had my thumbnails to go off of. I was able to redo the storyboards while being able to really elevate it, knowing what I had seen before and being able to change it and make it better. Within the process of storyboarding, it kind of happens before anything else happens so that everyone else has an idea of what needs to be designed, what needs to be made. So being a storyboard artist, you really have to be a bunch of other things too to get those concepts out. We have the office, we have the dream sequence, the animal world, computer sequence. The wheel had a couple different iterations to it. When we were first brainstorming, there was a couple different ideas. First one was like a hamster wheel. We were going through a couple different versions with having the dates, weeks, and times on it. Yeah. So it was definitely an experiment trying to put it in there. But we really wanted to have this sort of pacing, especially in Wallace and Gromit. They have this sort of pacing where it's natural yet comedic. So you can really relate to the characters. And I really wanted that to show in the storyboards, have that pacing go along with the music too. So.
Did you see that dog? Did you see that dog? Because what happened was my storyboard artist was working without concept art, and my concept artist was working without a storyboard. That was the only way we were ever going to get this project done on time. What this meant was that we ended up with a bunch of ideas that didn't end up making the final cut.
This is super early previs, we didn't even know what the final beats of this story were gonna be. I was like, okay, so we need a dream world, what's happening? And honestly, I was just drawing a sick ass rock formation. There was an earlier segment where before he woke up from the dream, he was going through a park and there was something shocking that had to wake him up. And so the idea is where maybe he falls off a cliff, his bike falls over, there's a bear that comes out. And I sort of did this illustration of a man flashing his genitals, which is a big hairy bush. I labeled it pervert in big text. It did not get used. Yeah, so I think initially we're supposed to make Joost wake up in his dingy ass apartment. And I think the big one was the yellow stained sheets. It's just sweat seeped into the, there was moldy takeout, rats inside his leftover takeout stuff. and a cup of coffee that was moldy. That's one of those things where it's like, you know, watching the video, you might not pick up, but there is this sort of internal logic where, okay, in the beginning, we see him pick up a cup of coffee and drink it. Maybe some like psychedelic mushrooms were growing inside of the coffee and he's tripping balls. And so essentially the entire story is just him hallucinating all these things with his pals, I guess. The way I made these was I took, I think 3 different designs and I made 6 designs off of them. So you can sort of see the natural evolution from 13 to 16 to 14. We needed a sidekick, just sort of drawing those influence from those early like browser pals. It was supposed to be a dog sidekick instead of Pingu. I really had no fucking clue. I was just like, let's just cast a wide fucking net. I don't know, like we got a slug monster, we got Pingu with a fucking long ass legs and just like an amalgamation of limbs stuck together. Like I don't know what we're gonna land on. More Gabbard, that was the big one. What the hell? So I went and I looked it up and there's just a bunch of guys in tracksuits with like bald heads and tattoos. So he's already bald. So I just gave him tattoos and piercings. And I think the final design we ended up going with B. We wanted to, initially the big thing was we were not gonna do the Joost suit or whatever.
Right, yeah, the big shoulder.
Yeah, we're not gonna do the big shoulder pads. And so I was like, okay, he's got some promotional artwork out and he's wearing this like white lace gloves and he's in like an office suit. So what if he's really grimy, right? And then it was a matter of playing around with, okay, let me really push the proportions, how his clothes fit, what does he even look like? This is funny because I had opened the Art of the Box Trolls. I was sort of flipping through their character design just because I was like, okay, well, how are they designing characters for stop motion? So I did it for 8 and that was the last one I did in the lineup. So that's why you can be the only one that looks like that. Okay. But that one went so much faster and had so much more control that you can see like in every single character iteration done afterwards, they're all done in the style of 8. So I didn't use that design, but I did use the process. I took the best ones from that and I turned them into the final 3, which I think it was sort of the suite for B.
Boom! We got storyboard, we got concept art done and out of the way. Now came the hard part, or the fun part if you're a set designer, and that is making all of the props. The step of fabrication was split between 2 people at first. Me doing the puppets, and then industry goat Brian Capati doing all the sets. We ended up bringing on a couple more people, but Brian will talk to you today about the sets. When it comes to the puppets, I gotta be so for real. This little Joost guy down here, first puppet I ever made. So making 20 puppets in less than 15 days, gnarly, dude. The rundown that I'm gonna give you is really just a rundown from the wonderful people over at Mosma. I co-wrote this small educational guide with them during this time of learning how to make puppets, and that guide is what I'll be sharing with you today on how to make it.
So I take our concept art and I redrew it at the scale that the puppets were actually going to be, which is 1/6 scale. It's the same as Barbie scale. Pretty much every puppet is just 14 gauge twisted aluminum wire. You can kind of see here, looking at the arms and stuff, there's copper wire twisted in there. That's just 22 gauge wire. It's a trick that one of my professors showed me. It reinforces the skeleton and it's really good on the fingers. You can see here, I just used it for the hand.
Here, I can show you our little Pingu guy. This is where I'm at right now. But I'm using 2 different materials. This first one is the classic Sculpey, you know. And then we're using Magic Sculpt down here. You can see I popped the tie downs right in the Magic Sculpt.
That gray is uncured Magic Sculpt, which is basically like the bones of the puppet. It's gonna be the skull, it's gonna be the rib cage. Once it's cured, we refine it and then it's prepped for painting.
So I'm going to take a bunch of sandpaper and I'm about to sandpaper this Bondo off so that we can have a really smooth, really crisp and clear puppet.
To fill out the shape of the puppet, I used polyurethane foam, which is the same kind of foam you would find if you ripped up your couch. We also wrap it in a thinner version of that same polyurethane foam called athletic wrap. You probably see it in like sporting goods stores. At the same point, I'm also gluing the felt onto the hands. If you did it correctly and you thought ahead, you can pretty much just use Barbie clothing because it's all the same size. For what we were doing, I needed clothing that was a little bit more specific, so everything was hand sewed or we used a glue called Fabri-Tac. Not an ad, but I highly recommend Fabri-Tac. It's basically like liquid thread.
I have to talk about the shoulder pads on this guy right here. You can look at the original puppet, and the original puppet, it's really, I mean, it's really just hacked together. You can see kind of there, like especially the back, like, oh man, that's a mess. But I'm trying to make it a little bit less messy on these puppets. You can kind of see here, I've split it into 3 parts, and you know, I'm not a seamstress, so I don't really know what I'm doing here. But I've got it split into 3 parts, and we got the part, like the upper pad of the shoulder, and then we got like this back pad, and we got like this kind of front pad right here. And then it's just like clamps onto it. Anyway, that's my little arm rant. Very difficult.
While I was knocking out those puppets, Brian Capati was knocking out set after set after set, and he's been doing this for years. So he actually knew what he was doing, and every time I went over to his space, just gorgeous work, man. Absolutely gorgeous.
I mean, the whole name of the game was just to try to find whatever we could because of our time constrictions. Goodwill bins, Goodwill store too, just to see if I could find any bits and pieces in the toy section or Barbie knockoff stuff. You know, just any way to cut corners and save time and get it done. They look like the recycled materials you used on making the tree for the Dreamland. What was that made out of? It's literally just some braided armature wire with paper bags and glue and water. Right. And then the leaf parts are spongy foam material, just airbrushed it green, and definitely a little bit of a scenic trick that I learned on Pinocchio. I was working on a lot of trees that we were just using paper for the park, you know, for like background trees and stuff like that. I really liked translating the artwork of the wasteland. I had kind of figured, okay, well, I'll just use different thicknesses of cardboard to get the texture there, and then using acetate for the puddles. The branches that I used to make the trees I had collected on the road, like around Mount Shasta, a couple months prior. They were just perfect. I really loved that forced perspective, even though it's only 2 feet at most. And you got yourself a landscape.
And before we move on, I just want to shout out Emma Knapton, who built all of our beautiful bank sets, and Genevieve Tobin, who helped decorate the office set.
All that was really left was making a live action video reference. The biggest component of this was making sure that I really understood the haka. Now there's a really big punk scene in Portland, and you would think if there's punk and there's hardcore, and there's probably gabber, right? No gabber anywhere in Portland. I watched tons and tons and tons of videos about the haka, and I took lots of notes. I can do the dance vaguely better now, although the puppet can still do it way, way better than I can. I mean, when you spend 5 minutes taking every single frame, of course the dance is gonna be miles better than I could ever do. We are on schedule, baby, and things couldn't be better. We're actually 1 day ahead of schedule. Crazy, I know. But I'm gonna have to step up my hours to make sure we stay on track to finish this project on time. So our animatic has been chopped up into a bunch of different bits and completely resorted by lighting type, by set type, and how we're gonna shoot the characters. With that resort, what we're looking at is about 50 individual shots, and those 50 individual shots have to be done by March 24th. That's about 2 shots a day for those of you without a calc. I don't want to downplay it too much. The schedule was kind of insane, but I mean, I'm Nathan the animator, bro. Like, this is the part I'm hyped for. If there's anything I'm in the game for, it's the animation, dude. So we have this visualization, and it's really a visualization of hundreds of hours of work at this point. You know, I'm looking around and it's like 50 shots, really all that work, and we got 50 shots. I mean, this is the hype part, which is actually making it a real thing. We're in the studio right now where I actually shot the project. It's just my home studio. And all these shots here, they're color coordinated, so they all mean something. We got pink, which is our office shots. We got blue, which is our dream world shots. We got green, which are our bank shots. And then lastly is orange. Orange is shot on either a green screen or just a plain white background so that it can be composited somewhere else into the project. I wish I had the time to talk about all of these shots, but obviously it would be like an 8-hour video. So I'll just talk about like the 3 or 4 that really resonated with me. This one's our first shot. It was the wheel shot, and I really like it because I think you can see a lot of the energy and excitement coming through the puppet at this point.
You might be wondering, why is Joostling not on a wheel? And there was a reason to that. The shot was broken down into 4 main parts. There was Joostling, the wheel, the buddies on the side, and then the textured background. This gave our compositor Jaimi a lot of freedom to really play with the scale and the composition of the shot, and just kind of move stuff around until it feels right. The whole scene is in a liminal void, so if something felt weird or off, like that was okay because that was part of the vibe. We set this as our first shot in the project, mostly because it's the easiest to make, but also because it made sure that we were aligned in what the workflow would look like and the vision of what we were going for.
With these shots done and out of the way, I moved on to the office shots. One of the biggest parts of slamming out like 2 to 3 shots a day was that nothing on the sets were actually glued down. And the biggest reason for that was every single shot, the sets would get shuffled around. So a prop that a puppet might not have previously used, I might change my mind and be like, actually, I want the puppet to use this. In which case, I couldn't risk damaging the prop with a whole lot of glue.
Let me give you a tour of what we got going on here. So it took me about 30-45 minutes to set up this shot and the lighting and everything. There's not much tied down in the set. Our puppets especially, right? This guy right here is really just sticky tack, and I move him and you can see he's not moving a whole lot. Up here we got our 2 little freaks. They're not tied down at all. You can see I can just move them entirely. And if I bump the set too hard, the whole thing's gonna fall over. But I don't need to animate them much, so hopefully they shouldn't move. Some of these more foreground props are really just kind of set there. It's great, especially with this chair. I can kind of do some blocking here and really draw that viewer's attention to the face specifically. It's pretty awesome. This is one of the easier shots to set up. It's only a couple seconds and the lighting is just pretty straightforward, especially since the shadow of the table solves a lot of our problems. You know how it goes. I was very careful about how I moved through my set, and I did touch-ups where I could, but I could not break anything. And the reason was because our production schedule did not have people or time for a fully fleshed out puppet hospital. If something broke or a puppet broke, that was basically it. This is why that destruction scene we have at the end of the video is so important. We actually shot that shot halfway through production, right before I started shooting any of the Dreamland sequences. And the idea was that any mistakes or any damage I caused to the puppets during that scene, that was something I could learn from. Because the Dreamland sequence is supposed to be this nice, clean, dreamy space. And if I were to damage the puppets or props during that sequence, there would be greater consequences and damage to the vibe of the video.
12 hours of animation later, and we got it done, the final shot. We're only about 1/3 of the way through production, but we got this one done pretty early because it's just easier to knock it out of the park now until waiting until the very end when we have a tight deadline to hit.
I locked in pretty hard after that. Like I said, the Dreamland sequence was important stuff, so most of the time I was just working in silence. One might call it the milk call method. Let me see if any of these got a good story for you here. The dance sequence. That one was pretty gnarly.
The dance sequence ended up being a mess on my first pass. For whatever reason, I just wasn't feeling the vibe that day, and it turned out awful. So I just scrapped that whole shot and reshot it the following day. And part of that was scrapping the choreography as well. I was gonna do a subtle haka, and that wasn't really working, so I just took the more exaggerated version I did on the TikTok video and pushed that choreography through. And I think it made it look a little bit better. You know, if we had more time, I think I probably would have reshot it a 3rd time, but you know, we got there. I think the frustration of having a couple bad shots and then having to do that reshoot and the long hours that I was putting into everything was kind of starting to show in the project itself.
We're done with the office, we're done with the Dreamland. All that's really left are these green bank shots and then these orange composite shots. Lord knows I needed a break, so the orange composite shots were the method because they're pretty easy on me as the animator. This guy right here, this is actually the portal. The portal's pretty cool.
That portal with the weird little tendrils is really just a strata cut that we looped and then was reversing back and forth. I was digging through my bin of clay cutoffs and I pulled out all of my blues and all of my purples and all of my whites, and then I rolled them out and twisted them into this cylinder that was about the size of a soda can. I wanted the portal sequence to last a good 4 to 5 seconds, so I cut very thin 1/4-inch segments of our strata, and then our compositor Jaimi just popped it into every shot where we had a portal.
I've had my break, I've calmed down, I'm kind of excited about the project again, so I'm ready to knock out the last 15 shots.
I am in love with every single shot in the bank sequence, and I think you can really tell all of that energy that I got back because the puppets are just so much more alive there.
This is my last shot with the Joost puppet. You would think it's actually like the penultimate shot, but this one's the last one because he's got these cute little gloves on. And I wasn't sure how I was going to attach them. I thought I'd have to like sew them to his hand and then I wouldn't be able to use the puppet for any other shot. But actually they do just slide off, so I didn't need to worry about it at all. But we're done with this guy, now he goes back in storage.
And with 1 day to spare, all of our shots are done and sent off to our compositor. So we're 1 day ahead of schedule. This last little chunk here was mostly just me giving revisions and feedback to our compositor, Jaimi, and a lot of waiting around, to be honest. I was so zeroed in on the project that it was really hard to find a productive way to spend all this new free time I had. So I was stressed about the project, but I was also building my website at the same time. I was still stressing about the project, so I sent some emails, but I kept stressing about the project, and about that point I was going through the like 20,000 files I have for Capitalism. And then the video was done, but Big Guy was still at another event. So we just waited, and we waited, and waited. And then all at once, on a random day, it released to the public. It was amazing. The project was done, and in the week, I was headed to see Joost up in Seattle and see the crowd reaction. And dude, the crowd reaction was amazing. The team and I celebrated the same day the video came out, and the hype was unbelievable. You know, I keep catching myself wanting to say that this was a miracle that we pulled off, but the hard work and amount of time we put into this really makes it a real accomplishment. So what's the takeaway, right? Well, you know what I would say is if you're an artist, you should reach out or even try stop motion yourself. There's a lot of cool things you can do with it that I think sometimes people don't realize. And if you're a fan, oh man, if you're a fan, I guess I've never had fans before, so I don't really know what to say. It's always just been family and friends, and a lot of us do art. And I think at the end of the day, that's the end all be all of most communities. The most human thing you can do is make something with your hands. And so I would encourage you to do that. And of course, you already know it's peace, love, unity, y'all. Thank you.
Shout out to Nathan, the animator. I love claymation and I'm very proud. Let's fucking go!